Alright, everybody, for today's critical thought, we're going to turn to a very interesting topic. I want to talk a little bit about my own review or analytical process when it comes to examining video games. By the time you're watching this, my top 10 of 2017 post series will have started with number 10 on GameWisdom.com. But for the longest time, I never really thought about how I actually critique and look at video games. And over this last week, I started to sit down with the games I picked out for my best of lists, and I started to try and put something together in terms of a rough framework. And I came with some very interesting thoughts just about how I've grown when it comes to playing and examining so many video games. So, for me, when I'm looking at a video game, whether or not I'm going to enjoy it or even more so put it on my top 10 list, there are three criteria that I look at. The first is the uniqueness of the game. Is this something that I've seen many, many times over, or is this something that surprises me in some unique way? Now, finding a game that is 100% unique is very rare these days, as we've seen with many games now borrowing elements from other genres, mixing genres, or simply just trying to do something just a tiny bit different from the big name of that genre. But I always find myself really drawn to games that surprise me in offering a brand new or just a very altered experience. The second criteria I look at is quality. Is this a good game? Am I enjoying this game? I mean, that's a pretty obvious one. For those of you who are longtime fans, you know that I have walked away from games after 10 to 15 minutes of playing if they start annoying me too soon. But quality is a major part, and that in of itself could easily be its own topic, because as we've said before, quality is one of those very subjective elements for video games. Some people are fine with playing stuff like Super Meat Boy, Dark Souls, Bloodborne, and the like, while others bounce off those series very fast. Likewise, we've seen games that have become very polarized among gamers, be it for quality, content, or some other reason. Now, the third part is refinement. And this is one of the things that are a little bit tricky to talk about. While I am fine with games that are similar to other ones, but a major part that I look for in a game is just how elevated or polished the design is. Now, the reason why that's different from the quality of the game is that refinement refers to taking something that someone else has done or taking a genre and improving upon in some way, shape, or form, be it through expansions or simply through adding new design elements to alter this to make it even better. So, for instance, when we talked about a game like Asura, with being able to have the procedural generated skill tree would be a good example of this. Or something like Super Meat Boy, with taking a very challenging platformer design and going as far as they could with upping the challenge and variety. But the point is, being able to take something that someone else has done and putting your own spin on it while improving it is very tricky. And it's even trickier when we talk about games that have gone through kind of like their redemption period or their second release, as we've seen over the years with stuff like Planetary Annihilation, Sky Shine's Bedlam, and so on. Where you have a game that was already released and could either be good or bad, and then the designer decides, you know what, I want to improve or change everything that I've already done. Now, what makes this very interesting when I look at my best of lists is that this year, there's definitely a healthy mix of indie to AAA titles. I think 2016, it was mostly independent games. And what I found very interesting is how my criteria has really affected what games I end up actually enjoying. For instance, I think it was last week, I was talking with other Josh, we were having our weekly Skype chat, and we were both sharing our rants about some of the games we've played. And I told about how much I didn't enjoy Horizon Zero Dawn, which if you looked at my pre-show, I guess quote-unquote pre-show on Game Wisdom, I listed as my most disappointing game. And he had a very good point about why I'm not enjoying it that much, whereas a lot of mainstream journalists and people who are reviewing games are, uniformly praising it and it's on their top 10s. And what he said was, for someone who doesn't play a lot of video games, who doesn't, explore all the various options out there, Horizon Zero Dawn is a breath of fresh air. And there aren't a lot of games in the AAA space like it. But when you're someone like me who has played everything from Don't Starve to The Flame of the Flood, The Long Dark, Sir, You Are Being Hunted, and so on, another survival hunting game doesn't really do much for me if it's still copying the same Ubisoft formula. As we talked about, with Upin World Design. Well, the point is, I am definitely a lot harder on games where I've seen this all before than I am with a game that may not be the most polished or high quality, but does something completely new to shock or wow me. For instance, I think 2 years ago, or maybe even last year, again, time has no meaning for me these days, I put Her Story on my best of list. And the reason I did that was the first time that a visual novel style game actually managed to hook me and keep me invested in it. And I'm sure whatever year that I can find a sports game that really gets me to play it all the way through, it will probably earn a top 10 spot as well. But the point is, for me, you really have to do a lot to impress me. And again, you have to do a lot in one or more of those 3 criteria. And you probably notice that graphics and storytelling aren't on my list. Because, again, as I've talked about before, I'm definitely more of a mechanic and systems kind of guy. A great story and great visual design are the icing of the cake, but they're not going to help if I can't enjoy your game. But I'm curious, for those of you watching, how do you determine whether or not you enjoy a game or not? What criteria do you use, and how do you, rate them in terms of importance? I guess for me, it would probably go uniqueness, quality, and then refinement, in order from most to least. But for this year, I'm going to be very interested to see what you guys think about my top 10. Some of them should be fairly obvious if you've been following me for this past year. Other ones, not so much. But this will be a quicker critical thought for now. Like I said, let me know what you think about some of your important criteria or how you review games. And if you have any questions for me, let me know in the comments below. But otherwise, thanks for tuning in. Get ready to enjoy the best of list, starting with number 10 by the time you're watching this video, hopefully. And check back for daily discussions on design here and on Game Wisdom, where we examine the art and science of games. Until next time, have a great day. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Check back around 10 Eastern for regular streaming. If you'd like to suggest games for me to cover or topics to talk about, let me know in the comments below. For a collection of my writings as well as weekly podcasts on design, check out game-wisdom.com. To support the Game Wisdom Patreon, you can find us on there on patreon.com/gwbicer. $1 will get you into our private Discord channel where we talk game topics and more. $5 will get you voting privileges for any major event, including the Saturday Night Grab Bag, Patreon-funded goals, and more. Thanks again for watching, and I hope you enjoy more videos here on the Game Wisdom YouTube channel.